The G Wade Podcast with Deacon Dirty.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
And so that's this crime. So, but leading up before you got to the police station, you saying there was small talk, no indications of you are being investigated, no kind of idea of that you were any type of suspect for any type of crime.
Not an inkling of anything, man. I had no, they never spoke one time, one word about why we were going down there and what they wanted to talk to me about.
Right.
They was making small talk about nothing. And the whole time, like, I'm really vague. I'm trying to figure out, why I'm in this car, why I'm taking this ride. What exactly do these men want to talk to me about? I didn't do nothing wrong. I didn't know anything about anything that happened that wasn't supposed to happen.
Right.
So we get down there, they got real aggressive. They threw me in a room. They handcuffed one of my hands to the chair.
Wow.
They said they know. So an elderly widow was murdered. At the time, she was murdered. Months later, we found out not only was she brutally murdered, but she was also raped. So they said they knew I committed this crime. They said they had witnesses. They said they had evidence that said I committed this crime. For 3 or 4 hours, I repeated the same thing over and over again. Where I was at, my alibi from the time they said the crime happened till they arrived at my house around 1 o'clock. I told them where I was at. I repeated the same thing. I said nothing more. I said nothing less. I repeated the same thing over and over and over again, man. I'm 20 years old. You talking about being charged with first-degree murder, killing somebody.
Wow.
A 77-year-old woman.
Right.
I was scared to death. I was in there crying like a baby. for my mother. And after a few hours of being interrogated, one of the officers brought some papers in for me to sign. He placed the papers in front of me. I was still handcuffed to the chair, and they wanted me to sign these papers. It was all this writing on the papers. I was trying to read what was on the papers. They wouldn't allow me to read what was on the papers. So he covered up, except for where he wanted me to sign my name, where he wanted me to put my initials. I did exactly what they told me to do. They told me if I signed these papers, I can go home. I was in an earshot. I could hear my mother. I could hear my mother out there screaming, where's my son? What's going on? They told me if I sign these papers, I can go home. I signed the papers. I did what they told me to do. And as soon as I did it, they said, I just confessed to this crime.
Wow.
They said, I just confessed to this crime.
And they also did this in quote unquote interrogation. When you said they got aggressive, they got it also physical with
also physical, yeah.
Very intimidating.
I had a hat on. They ripped the beak of my hat off. One of the officers nose to nose with me. Said he poked my eye, excuse my language, and another officer down on the back of my neck. I feared for my life at that time, man. I just did what they told me to do. I signed the papers. Like I said, I can hear my mother. They had my mother where I can hear her. I can hear her screaming at the top of her lungs, where's my son? What's going on? I want to see my son. They told me if I sign these papers, I can go home. I signed the papers, and they said, I just confessed to this crime.
Of a statement that was written by one of the officers or some investigator.
That was written by one of the officers.
And they never gave you the opportunity to read it, top line, bottom line, nothing in between.
Not one word on the paper. They wouldn't allow me to read it. Cover his hands so I couldn't read nothing, not a word on the papers, just where he wanted me to put my signature or my initials.
Right. Now, so what happens then? Is there, I'm sure, were you in the frame of thought like, well, let me ask for a lawyer at this point, or was,
no,
over everything?
One of the crazy things is I tell people all the time today, listen to me. I tell people all the time today, 95%, listen to what I'm saying to you, 95% of the population, when they first arrested, I'm talking about when you first arrested, not after you convicted them. When you first arrested and you go to the county jail, 95% of the population, including myself, don't know their rights.
Yeah.
I didn't know my rights back then.
Yeah.
And and had 95% of us know our rights, 9 times out of 10, we wouldn't even be arrested. 9 times out of 10, every time you get pulled over in your vehicle, 9 times out of 10, every time they come into your home, it's illegal. They do that illegally because you don't know your rights, and they know you don't know your rights. They go ahead and do what they do. And then you're arrested. You're arrested, and then you put in jail. By the time you get to jail and learn your rights, you know, not only have one charge against you, you got like 50 charges against you. Now you're fighting an uphill battle. It's crazy. It's insane. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's what I tell people, man. Teach your kids to be present. I see a lot of these young people out here, man. I tell them to be present, man. You know what I mean? Learn your rights as a citizen. You got a right as a human being. You know what I mean? As a citizen, man. You know what I mean? You know, so, you know, when somebody, you feel like somebody is invading your space, you know what I mean? You have a right to question that.
Absolutely.
And 9 times out of 10, if you question that, they know, you know what I mean, what's going on. They'll tell you, don't worry about it. Just go ahead, just be careful next time. That wasn't the case with me. You know, the terminology we use now when somebody pulling a prank on you, we call it being punked. I was waiting for somebody to come tell me I was being punked. Nobody never came and told me that, man. That went on 3 or 4 hours, man, till I was actually charged with this crime. Yeah, I mean, it was the worst day of my life, man.